Okay, thanks for coming to tonight's talk, guys. How to prepare for race day. Okay, so obviously we'll have a bit of a checklist in here, but really, most of the training should be done by now. You've worked maybe on your nutrition. Hopefully, you've got some idea of what you're going to eat during the event, and hopefully you've got some strategies for mentally, preparing yourself as well. Okay, this is more about what to do in those last 24 hours before the event. Okay, so the night before, really food should be the first thing you're thinking about. Okay, what are you going to eat? This can depend on what type of event you're doing. If you're doing a longer event, you can afford to eat more protein and more fat, which is going to last longer in your stomach. But if you're doing a shorter event, 5K, for some of you a 10K, then it should primarily be carbs. Okay, you're looking to really fill your body with carbohydrate, with glucose, that you can then use during the race. Okay, if you don't really know, fat, if you're running fast in your stomach, even from the night before, can just react badly. Okay, give you stitch, intestinal problems. So, but also, I don't know if not enough people do this, but having a read through the race program can also be quite a good thing, just to make sure you haven't missed anything. Obviously, you want to know your start time. The Cheltenham Challenge start times are different for each event. It's important that you know when you're supposed to be on the start line. You want to know where the toilets are. Hopefully there's some mention of where those are. And you want to know how to get there, make sure that you're not going to get lost on the way. If there's any friends that you want to meet up at the event, then you want to make sure that have some idea where you're going to meet. These days it's easy to look on Google Maps and actually say, right, let's meet by so and so. Parking, of course. Is there a facility for you to park in the area, or do you need to park on public streets? Is there a toll for parking? So it's just important to get these little bits checked off before you leave the house in the morning. Things for your day pack. Okay, so your race number, your sunscreen. I'm just going to read these off. The water bottle, snacks, and things like banana, muesli bar, just stuff that you can have quickly, which won't cause you too much issues, whether it be straight after the event, or if you just find that maybe you are just feeling a bit peckish beforehand, stuff that's going to be okay in your stomach. A muesli bar is probably not the best example, but in saying that, for a longer, slower event, you might be alright with it. Also your phone, maybe an electrolyte replacement if you're already using one, could be useful, especially if you're going to top up before you race. Things to have in the car, assuming that the weather's okay when you leave the house, you might want to leave these in the car. A jacket, blanket, towel, again, any protein or electrolyte replacements. On race day it's important that you've got lots. You want to take more. Obviously, it's not like a holiday where you have to carry it around for you for weeks on end. If the weather's fine, it's just for the race. You may as well bring extra back up just in case. Clothing, obviously, what you're going to put on for the day, for the race itself. You'll know your shoes and socks. Whatever females wear down below. I don't know. Guys wear shorts. Your vest. This is quite a key one, really, if there's any decisions to be made with your event, is what you're going to wear up top. Okay, so generally it should be pretty minimal down below, because you're going to heat up in the event, right? And it's so many people we see going out for club runs and they're having to take stuff off and put it around their waist. You really don't want to be doing that on race day, do you? Okay, so this is generally, you'll find that your more experienced runners, there is no question what you're going to wear on race day, whether it's cold weather or warm. You're wearing a vest. Okay, they're going to be running fast enough. They're going to generate enough heat in their body to not want any additional heat. I mean, heat is it's a major influencer on how hard you perceive the race. Okay, so the last thing you want is to have too much clothes on, or to have chosen just a long sleeve. And not actually have anything else underneath it. You really want to be able to make sure you've got a vest or a t-shirt, something that you know is not going to be too hot on the day. Stuff for pre-race, of course. So what goes on top. Obviously, once you get out of the car, hopefully you know you can put stuff away, so you can actually afford, especially if it's cold in the morning like it often is, to have something over the top of your race wear. So a tracksuit is perfect. You don't see too many people wearing full branded tracksuits, bottoms and tops these days, but often it's just a pair of track pants and a hoodie, or something that you know is going to keep you warm while you're milling about before the event. Sun cream, obviously we want to make sure we've got some of that available, and you should be putting that on ideally before you leave the house, so there's plenty of time for it to bed in. So that's all stuff you want to pack before, the night before, but on the morning, this should all be stuff that you've practiced in training, remember, in terms of what you're eating and the timings of that. But again, if it's a long run, high protein. If it's a super long run, then maybe you'll be looking at putting some fat in there as well. Eggs are a good source of fat and protein and energy throughout a race. But if you're running something super short and fast, then they might come back at you at some stage during the race. But yeah, if it is a short, sharp race, 5k, 10k, then high carbs, so your porridges, toast, cereals. You want to make sure it's substantial. Obviously, the more you want to eat in that breakfast, the earlier you're going to need to eat it. And that's all really dependent on you and what event you're doing. Okay, we really need to learn these lessons in training beforehand, so you know how you're going to feel on race day. Water, juice. Okay, hydration is a big one. Obviously, we know we don't want to be underhydrated, dehydrated on race day, but also we don't want to be weeing every 5 minutes or wanting to use the cubicles every 5 minutes when we get there. Okay, and this is another way that a lot of people cause themselves a lot of stress on race day. We know that the toilets are going to be busy, so to avoid feeling like you have to go to the toilet all the time when you get there and having to queue up, we've really look to the day before, so making sure that your body is well hydrated before race day, so that your body is already storing consolidated water in there, so that when it gets to the day, that morning you might have some fluids with your breakfast, and of course you're going to have a bottle with you to maybe sip on before the event, but you should not be doing any hydration as such before, in the hours before the event. It should already be done. Difference between juice and water, it's not a big deal as long as you're getting the nutrients in beforehand. Obviously, if you're not eating anything, then you need nutrients in you. But really, juice it's a short-term fuel. It's not going to help you in the race really. So it makes your water taste nicer. But apart from that, it's not going to help you run faster. Arriving at the venue, it's time to do a bit of scouting. Ideally, you're early enough that you can quickly find out where are the toilets, and you want to know you can keep an eye on them, notice when they are getting busy, because chances are you will want that one blue stop before the event, and you want to do it before it gets busy. You want to know, obviously, you'll park your car up. You want to have, ideally, you're going to scout the start line. Okay, you want to see where people are going to be lining up. Obviously, if it's a big event, they'll have set locations for those planning on doing each time, but for your smaller events, it'll just be a line that goes straight back, and you just basically want to find wherever's best for you. So the key thing is, before the event, you want to know approximately how far back from that start line you want to be. Okay. You also ideally want to scout the finish line. Okay, and sometimes it is the same place, but I'm more talking about the run into the finish line. Okay, so hopefully you've got an idea by maybe Googling the course beforehand, looking at it on Google Maps, but also on race day. You want to see, especially if it's off-road, are there potholes? What's the route look like? If it's tarmac, it's fine, but then are there any tight turns before the event, before the finish line? A really great trick to play on someone if you are in that competitive state in your final kilometre of the event, and you're not really sure whether you should be leaving it to a last minute sprint to beat them, or whether you need to up the ante a bit earlier to sort of wear them down, is to look for any tight turns, okay, especially if there's a tight turn where you get to cut the grass. Okay, there's a beautiful one in the Cheltenham Half. When you turn back onto Evesham Road, you're coming from the pump rooms. A lot of people will go around the lamppost there, but you can very quickly duck in on the inside and start your faster pace. Maybe not a sprint from that far out, but these are the sort of things you want to be looking for. Okay, so if it's just a long straight finish, then it's there's no one gets an advantage. There's no surprise to be had. But there are things in each route. Obviously the Cheltenham Challenge has got a steep downhill finish. Okay, so you want to be thinking about how you're going to approach that. You might be thinking further ahead. You guys know it so well now. You won't need to scout it, but when are good times to attack? Okay, and some people just are thinking about finishing their race, but ideally we all want to finish with a sprint finish, and we want to beat whoever we've been running against for the last section of it. You want to know where the bag stations are, of course, and you want to know what their system is, because you might not want to put your bags in as soon as you arrive. Ideally you can keep your tracksuit or whatever, your warm clothes on as long as you can, right up until your warm-up, before putting it in the bag station. But if you can see that it's not going to be a bag station that's not going to be very well equipped to deal with the numbers that are coming in, then the last thing you want is to be standing in line worried about whether you're going to make it to the start line on time. Obviously you're then going to look to finalise your clothing, okay, making that last decision. Am I going to wear my t-shirt? Am I going to wear a long sleeve? Where am I going to go with the vest? And that really is the time to put your race number on. Okay. Now hopefully you've practiced putting your race number on, or else you've done it plenty of times before in previous races, or maybe you've got someone to put it on for you. But the last thing you want to be doing, in those final minutes before the event is trying to mess with little safety pins and pricking yourself and making holes in your top. You don't want to be doing that in the final moments before you go off. Warm up. You see on TV, athletes warm up for their event. Okay, but with most running events, there are so many people, and they're all getting into their pen so early that very few people do much more warm up than a little jog around the block. Some events have your cheerleaders, taking you through a routine from the aerobics class, which is all very fun. But I think warm up is important. Okay, it is important to get your joints a bit lubricated and ready to go. It's also going to help you, your lung capacity to make sure that in that first kilometre, just in case if you do find yourself going a bit quick, then you are kind of ready for it. Okay, so basically any event that I'm trying to go to, I'll be taking a warm-up. So for the Cheltenham Challenge, I will be holding a warm-up, and it'll be very similar to what we do with our training. So it'll just be a strong run out, easy run back. That sort of training, I know a lot of people, especially if you're doing like a longer event, you're not sure if you're going to finish. You're going to be thinking, God, I'm not expending any more energy than I have to before my event. But actually, especially with out and backs, you're using a completely different energy system. Okay, so you're not going to be burning through that long, slow distance. It's a strong effort and an easy back. Okay, it's still going to warm up your body, get your physiology working properly for you, but it's not going to it's not going to take energy that you need for the race away from you. Just like training, we're going to be doing some stretches, some dynamic stretches, calves, quads, hamstrings, any extras that you feel like you need to do before your events. So after your warm-up, it's then time to find your place in the start pen. Okay, so you should already know where that's going to be, but then it's a matter of trying to get there. So I'm really advocating that your warm-up should start a lot later than most people would want it to. You don't want to be standing around that pen for a long time, getting cold, especially considering you will have stripped off into your race kit before you start your warm-up, because you've got to get that bag into the baggage area. Okay, so you don't want to be starting that late. I was with Anton in the Cheltenham Half, and we left it quite late. And at the end of the day, most of the time you've actually got to just jump the fence People will already be in there. It may already be very chocker, and the chance of you weaning your way up from the back to the area that you want to be in, it'll just take a long time, and you'll have to budge for a lot of people. So it pays to actually learn how to vault a fence properly before race day, all right? So that you don't bring it down on top of yourself, in front of everyone. But yeah, I place the warm up, the priority of the warm up, much higher than getting into the pen on time. Okay, we know that most races leave late. They don't all start on time. The presenter's got their message that they want to give you, and we don't want you getting cold before you start the race. In those last few minutes before the gun goes off, really you just turn your watch on, make sure the satellites are available, and you can do a little bit to help your lungs here. Just practicing holding your breath for a period, so you're not trying to turn blue or anything, but just hold your breath, just relaxed, and just long slow breathing to really just help you relax before the event can really help. And just repeating that, right up till the gun goes off, it can actually open up your lungs, make sure you've got more available for you on the day. And obviously, as the gun goes off, ideally you won't push start on your watch until you cross that start line, and then the rest is down to what you've practiced. All right. So I made sure we had lots of time for questions today. Because what I've said, most of it's straightforward. Hopefully you've got a few little bit extras from it. I think this will be more useful for those that haven't done a lot of events. But questions, and you guys are obviously also welcome to help me answer them as well, because some of you have done probably more events than I have. So come on, we've got any?
Does it matter where you start? When you say you're sort of lining up in the pen. Yep. I know I'm not going to be the fastest one. Does it really matter? Your timings only start when you actually physically cross the start line. Yeah. Does it matter really where you go then?
It depends on the race. If it's the bigger the event, the more important it is. I can remember one of my early races, a half marathon. I started way too far back, and I got held up by walkers and people just going much too slow. I spent more energy dodging people for the first couple of kilometres, and I was so angry with myself because that ruined my race. I spent the rest of the race trying to catch up, and potentially, putting myself in a red zone I didn't need to from trying to catch up. The other terrible mistake is to start too far up the field and find yourself getting bumped by people who are trying to get past through a narrow course. And that can cause you a lot of stress, and therefore increase your anxiety and your heart rate, and you're going to burn more energy. So these things I think they really do matter. Thanks for coming, and we'll have a good run tonight.